Tupelo is more than a picturesque town. It is an experience in the art of living to brighten the heart of even the most embittered skeptic. To those who are weary and baffled by the complexities of a busy, it offers a glimpse of those qualities of courage, confidence, and faith in the future that made America great. For in Tupelo, life is not an accident, but a glorious challenge pursued with joyous determination to make the best better. There is an air of solidarity and permanence on the faces of the buildings, and an attitude of intelligent concern on the faces of the people. One seems to sense in the very atmosphere a unity of purpose and a zest for living that compels investigation. The secret? A plan so simple, yet all-encompassing, it could form a pattern for progress to raise the standard of living and restore the dignity of man in every whistle stop across the face of America. As is often the case, the plan was born of economic necessity back in 1916, after the invasion of an unknown and elusive enemy, the cotton boll weevil. The unexpected, ruthless, and complete devastation of cotton, the chief source of income, lay prostrate the whole of the Tupelo area and staggered its people with the prospect of terrifying poverty. It was a banker who first recognized that such widespread destruction would affect, directly or indirectly, every man, woman, or child in the trade area. An economy based on a single cash crop was unhealthy and a risk too great to be reincurred. It was his dream that a cow, a sow, or a hen would put a factory on every farm. If a person, a community, or a nation is to progress, it must first take stock of its resources. These men were cotton farmers, if not by choice, by habit, but they were willing to learn. A livestock expert and a pasture specialist were employed by the banks to guide them in their new ventures, and the farmers' gratitude for the support of the townspeople and their response to suggestions and advice laid the cornerstone for the success of their enterprises. Each farmer was urged to adopt some livestock project to supplement his income from cotton. 53 acres was the average farm, and maximum efficiency a must. It was obvious that diversified farming was impractical on an individual scale, but with boundaries ignored and the problem approached on an area basis, it was possible to employ the harsh grades of the Crimson Hills and each acre of the lush prairie land to best advantage. The first step was curing erosion and restoring fertility to the badly depleted soils. Then some 24,000 acres were diverted from cotton to pasture and small grains to support the anticipated cattle population. The fields not suited to row crops or pasture were retired to heavy sod, and those badly eroded or too steep for cultivation were planted to trees. The choice land was saved for cotton, and thanks to enlightened cultural practices and powerful chemicals for insect control, the total cotton yield has more than doubled on 35% less acreage. As each forward step was taken, new vistas opened up, beckoning those who would progress to advance toward higher goals. The watchword, whatever your job, be superior, supplanted failure and resignation with new dignity and hope. From heifers bred on the Isle of Jersey, the dairy industry grew, and in a few short years, the dependable supply of rich milk had attracted the interest of the Carnation Company. Other processors moved to the cream jug of the continent, and although the present income from grade A milk exceeds $5 million annually, these plants are wisely geared to handle a much greater supply. For through the combined efforts of the Jersey Cattle Club to promote dairying and the Tupelo Area Artificial Insemination Association, the industry will continue to enjoy a stable expansion. The latter association maintains some of the finest bulls in Jerseydom, so dairymen may develop their herds with breeding from top quality bulls. Blooded beef cattle are also found, even though the size of the farm prohibits the large-scale production of beef. However, when added to the supply of pork and lamb locally grown, there is more than sufficient quantity to justify a packing house, one of the few in the Mid-South licensed to export its products anywhere in the country. And what of the hens? Scattered through the area are commercial egg producers and numerous broiler houses, which find a ready market at the processing plant, which daily kills, dresses, and freezes some 13,000 choice broilers and hens for discriminating customers from Chicago to Florida and Michigan to Texas. And so, a spark of human kindness in the heart of a small-town banker, fanned by the enthusiasm and intelligence of his fellow townsmen, became for the farmers a flaming crusade for freedom. Freedom from despair and the threat of agricultural bondage. The spirit of working together as a team crystallized into a dynamic organization called the Community Development Foundation. Embodying the duties of the usual Chamber of Commerce, this group further embraces industry and all the agencies actively engaged in promoting modern farming methods and sound development of rural communities. Financed entirely by the businessmen of Tupelo, the fundamental purpose of the CDF is to analyze the needs, procure the means, and lead the way to higher standards in every aspect of living. Unique in its function is the division of the CDF called the Rural Community Development Council, which has a positive pattern for progressive improvement in the realms of farm production, home management, recreation, education, health, religion, and good citizenship. That those less ambitious might be encouraged to enlist in some form of improvement, the rural districts are divided into 28 communities. Each community organizes its own council, chooses specific improvement projects, and with the assistance of all the agricultural agencies, develops a pilot farm. All residents of the community are urged to take an active part in this farm so they may observe the results of the latest recommended practices and the more advanced equipment. Individual programs vary from the attainment of definite production goals to some major home improvement. Whatever the field of endeavor, each participant receives the greatest of all gifts, the privilege of conscious growth. For example, many friends recall when this wholesome family were sheltered in the antiquated farm relic, inwardly suffering and outwardly pleading to be relieved of the burden of standing. As a boy, the head of the family was a champion 4-H member whose record reflects achievement and integrity. If he said they could build a house themselves and save the cost of labor, there were none to challenge his ability. The result is a living testimony to the artistry and skill of loving hands. Each year, there is a contest with cash prizes awarded to the community showing the greatest strides. Throughout the contest, the community enjoys the enthusiastic support and warm fellowship of a sponsoring civic group from town. This vital regard for rural development has literally effaced the city limits. For the men from town find as many close friends at a community picnic as the average farmer finds in the banks of Tupelo. And the farmer visits the banks more often than previously. His earnings help place bank deposits at an all-time high. His credit is good, too, for he has demonstrated his ability, and if he has a sound program, funds will be made available. In fact, his record of success with that of his neighbors gave them a higher per capita purchasing power than any county in the state. He has the money to buy what he needs, and he is buying automobiles, tractors, trucks, and household appliances at a greater rate of increase than any other county. With low-cost TVA power, running water, and telephones, his home is as well equipped with modern conveniences as any in the city. It is natural that the farmers should patronize the merchants of Tupelo, for they are ever conscious of his needs and have kept pace with rural progress. All of the South is advancing, but in the 5-year period, when the rest of Mississippi stopped at a comfortable increase of 66% in retail sales, Tupelo marched on another 18%. In the same period, the state showed a gain to wholesalers of only 24%. while Tupelo leaped to an amazing 120%. In dollars and cents, this meant an increase of $17 million more for the merchants of Tupelo than the average for the state. A colossal return on an annual investment of $40,000, which finances the Community Development Foundation. A city of less than 12,000, Tupelo has become the loading dock of abundance and a metropolis in miniature, which proves there is no limit to what an organized community can do if it wants to. The city wears its mantle of prosperity with humble dignity and a deep sense of responsibility. In its enthusiasm to forge ahead, those less fortunate have not been forgotten. The needs of the sick were fulfilled when a hospital, modern in every respect, rose high on a hill overlooking the restful countryside. In a quiet glen on the opposite side of town is a lovely home for the aged and alone, so they too may live out their years in an atmosphere of gentle consideration and kind comfort. But the true test of a great city is not its size, its economic status, political prowess, nor financial structure, but the measure of a man it produces. Born into the security of gracious homes and closely united families, little feet are early turned in paths which lead to wholesome, normal development and a keen sense of relative importance in the scheme of community life. There's the delightful companionship of families playing together on a Sunday afternoon, and the World Series of Tupelo, played at night so the grown-ups can cheer the teams they sponsor on to victory. In the summer, there's supervised dancing and games in a gay recreation hall, which quickly becomes a school cafeteria when it's time for lessons again. The people place a high esteem on formal education, and the system enjoys a scholastic rating of which they can be justly proud. For kids in the country, all of life is some sort of game. A home demonstration agent assists the mothers in teaching the girls to sew and cook and deal with the problems of housekeeping. With all their feminine talents developed, they will one day want to create efficient and charming homes of their own. And for the boys who are destined to provide food, fiber, and livestock for the future, there are many thrilling revelations in the new agricultural practices. They are learning young that a bountiful harvest can best be reaped from soil growing in fertility, even as it grows its crops. One may be sure that these farmers of tomorrow will not only protect, but improve the land, which is our natural wealth. The size of the farms and more efficient methods has so relieved the burden of toil that many men and women have time to seek gainful employment in one of the Tupelo industries. In fact, 70% of the industrial workers live outside the city, some of them as far removed as 25 miles. Morning and evening finds the school buses providing convenient transportation, so these strong and ambitious members of rural families may have the opportunity to fully occupy their time and develop their energies without leaving the land they love. Trained from youth in ways to make the best better, these people learn quickly and are grateful for the privilege of acquiring new skills. Accustomed from an early age to compete for superiority, they make some variation of an incentive pay plan particularly advantageous. In their desire to advance, production records are being compiled which few, if any, cities could surpass. Oddly enough, there is a surplus of this exceptionally high-type worker, which is a current problem of the Industrial Committee of the CDF. And all because no one thought seriously back in 1927 about a talented and energetic young woman making baby clothes for her friends, nor recognized the small plant making 25-cent shirts as the nucleus of a vast industry. But today, the Tupelo garment manufacturers and similar concerns throughout the area employ some 8,000 women. This creates an imbalance of available female and male workers which has not been entirely overcome. Other industries will come to live in Tupelo, and when the right ones are found, there will be many inducements offered by the city in the way of free sites, TVA power, natural gas, artesian water, and transportation facilities. But the greatest boon to any industry will come from the zealous men who are already initiated in the oldest fraternity in history, the brotherhood of man as Tupelo lives it.